Welcome to the video tutorial for the Single Word Instant Phonological Evaluation, or SWIPE for short, brought to you by wiseoldowl.slt.com. This version is designed to be carried out by speech and language therapists and can be used for children from 2.5 years upwards. So let's get started. The home page of this app allows you to view previous test results or begin a new assessment. We'll start a new assessment and go back to look at the results later. You can add new students here ahead of their appointments, or you can add as you go. I'm going to add a new student now. If you're with the child at the time, they can choose the colour of their owl by tapping on it. The choice of male or female feeds into the report later, so it's important to give that information as well as the name and date of birth. For data protection reasons, the date of birth is not recorded on the report. You can edit that in later once you have emailed it to yourself. Adding the date of birth simply calculates how old the child is, as this obviously changes over time. The address and school are optional, as are the NHS and CHI numbers, and you can change this in the default settings. Now that's saved, you can go back into that page here if you need to edit anything, or if you would like to delete the student. I'm going to delete Sammy now. Okay, so let's start a test for Olivia. With one easy swipe, you'll start the quick screener straight away. The word is blurred so that the child cannot read it. So just tap anywhere on the picture once the child has said the word to reveal it. Let's suppose the child says PID here instead of pig. Tap on the G for a few common substitutions. Here I'll tap D. But if you wanted to mark it as right or wrong, you could use these buttons here. If they missed a sound, I could mark the missing sound as a glottal stop. Or I could use this symbol to show that the sound was missing. If at any point you would like to record the child, press the button at the bottom right-hand corner once, and once again to stop recording. You can play it back straight away or listen to it later in the results section. If you make a mistake, simply tap on the sound button again to go back into the menu. Some pictures have this little arrow here. This gives a choice of word. For example, some children may say fish and some may say fishy. Of course, it's not possible to predict every word that a child might say, and so if you want to add a note at any time, you can do that here. Remember, the assessment only includes the word once you have tapped on the image. This means you can include as many or as few target words as is necessary for the child. If the child does not name a picture spontaneously, you can either encourage her to imitate the word and mark it as imitated here, or you can mark it as NR, no response, and the word will be excluded from the final evaluation. If at any stage you want to skip ahead to any other part of the assessment, you can do that by pressing the Go To button on the left-hand side here. If you go into the menu and the sound substitution isn't listed, tap this pen icon to access the keyboard, then press Return or the tick to substitute the sound with the one that you type. By the way, if you want to pause the assessment at any time, when you press the Home button, you'll be given the option to pause the test to resume at a later date, to save and finish the test at the current point, or to quit the test and discard all changes. Don't worry, if you press this by mistake, you'll get the chance to change your mind. If I pressed pause now, this would take me into the home page and I could resume the test at another time. I'm not going to do that now though. If you want to continue the full test, simply swipe to continue. But let's assume you want to finish at the screener. When you press finish here, you'll get a little audio reward.
Yay, we did it!
If you prefer not to have that, you can alter the default settings. Any sounds that were marked as errors in the test that the child should be able to say at their age will now come up to give you the opportunity to hear whether the child can imitate the sound in isolation. I would say, can you say f? Once I've established whether the sound can be said in isolation, I press the Done button and I'll be taken straight into the instant evaluation of the child's phonological system. So here's a summary of the screener test. If you would like to hear any of the recordings, you can do so by pressing the audio button next to the transcription. You can also see if the child imitated the word here. It's not a phonetic transcription, as this doesn't mean anything to the parent. Now, if we go into the sound section of the results, you'll get a quick visual overview of the sounds that the student can use. Green sounds are the sounds that the student used correctly. Amber sounds were not used by the student, but are not expected at their age. Sounds marked red were not used, but should be at their age. And grey simply shows that this sound was not assessed in this particular test for this child. Now let's go into the report. This simple table format shows the sounds with which the student had difficulties. It will tell you the position in the word where the difficulty occurred, the sound that was used instead, an example of the error, and whether the child can say the sound in isolation. It will also show the sounds with which they had difficulty, but which is expected for their age. In the summary section, you can choose a summary statement that best suits your student according to your departmental policy. Best of all, these summary statements can be edited. You can email it yourself as a Word document and then edit it and send it as your department data protection policy allows. Alternatively, you can delete the information if no further action is required. That's the end of the demonstration. You can learn more about the special settings and editing facilities by watching the Advanced Features video tutorial. But now you're ready to begin.